Hello, my name is Daisy Fuentes, and I am doing a local history project on Hurricane Celia. Can you please state your name?
Selena Tranbarger,
And how old were you when the hurricane hit?
14 years old.
Okay, what was your first reaction when you heard that Hurricane Celia was coming your way?
I wasn't afraid at the time. I was disturbed that my parents were arguing about what to do before the storm hit. And my mom was afraid to stay in our home and wanted to go to a shelter, and my dad didn't want to go to the shelter. He wanted to stay home. And I was stressed more about them arguing than what was happening because I did not know what we were going to do because I wasn't used to my parents arguing at all. So that was more stressful for me. When my mom finally decided, okay, I'm just going to stay home with you, then I wasn't as worried as much.
Where were you when the hurricane hit? Did you feel prepared?
No, I did not feel prepared, but we were home, and it it took a long time for it to be over. It seemed like, and it got worse in certain times, and then it seemed like it was almost over, and then it started up all over again. So the thing that stressed me out was that it took so long to be done with.
How was your daily life affected by the hurricane? How long did it take for modern life to return back to normal?
After the storm was over, it took at least a week for us to get our electricity going again. People were cooking their food, barbecuing whatever they had in the refrigerator. We had free ice. You could get free ice for ice chests. So if you wanted to put your food in an ice chest and try and make it last a little bit longer, I remember my parents going to get ice, and we tried to keep what we had in the refrigerator going and any other food that we bought because we didn't have electricity for such a long time. I mean, a week is a long time not to have electricity. Yeah.
How did the homes and buildings of Corpus Christi look after being struck by Hurricane Celia?
We didn't do a lot of driving around to see the other buildings. We mostly stayed there, but there was a lot of homes in just our immediate area that was severely damaged. There were neighbors that were displaced and didn't have their home anymore. Our home was damaged, but not to the point where it wasn't inhabitable. So for us, it wasn't as bad as some of my immediate neighbors that lost roofs, and you just couldn't stay in your home anymore.
What kind of support did you or someone you know receive from an organization? Please name the organization and support obtained, if any.
I do remember my parents getting money. It was either a loan or it was just like FEMA relief to rebuild the damage that was done to our home. I do know that they were handing out government food staples for the families to make sure everybody had food to eat. So I remember receiving those, and it went on past when we got our electricity. We still were able to get that food supplies to supplement our family.
How did hurricane affect you emotionally?
It didn't affect me so much as I saw other people that were more devastated. My ex-husband's family was down the street, and he was very traumatized, but his roof was blown away, and him and his siblings and his mom were trapped or barricaded themselves in the restroom with a mattress over them because they lost their roof. So later on, when we were married and there was a hurricane coming, you could tell it really affected him. He was very afraid of what would happen. And it turned out there wasn't really, it diverted before it hit Corpus, that hurricane. And he was so happy that nothing happened, because he was very much affected. But I think it depends on the person and how bad it was for them when Celia hit. For me, it was scary, but not traumatic.
How did Hurricane Celia change your outlook or perspective on the hurricane?
Uh, Hurricanes are so fickle. I mean, there's wonderful reporting as to the location and how far away it is, and everyone has more time now to prepare for a hurricane, but they can divert and move to a different location or veer one way or another. There's no telling. I mean, you have to be prepared no matter what, but it's just hard to say, is it going to hit? Is it not going to hit? Do we really prepare or not prepare? You're always left with that, what should I do? Because you don't know if it's going to be coming. You want to prepare, but I've prepared before, and then we just barely get a shower. So it's very frustrating because you don't know what's going to happen until it's, it gets really close. And they start reporting when it's far away, and everybody gets all, anxious and wanting to know, what you do. You go into a grocery store and they clean out all the canned goods, they clean out all the batteries, the water, and then come to find out it hit up north or down south. It's just, it's hard to figure out. The ice that the city was giving to the residents was free, and they were giving it to people that were without electricity. I'm not sure if the whole city was without electricity or not, but I know in our area, nobody in our neighborhood had electricity, and everyone was using ice chest, and you had to have somewhere to keep your perishables. You had to have it. So they weren't charging for the ice. You just go up and they would have trucks, and you'd get the ice straight off the truck, and they'd give it to the people to take home. And they did that on a daily basis. So you could go and get ice almost every day if that's what you needed. And I can imagine we didn't have babies, but if you had babies, you had to have milk no matter what, for your children. It's funny how my siblings all remember the experience differently. My younger sister, she was 10, and she remembers the cool stuff out the windows when the tree is going up and down, and the grass and the dirt is going up and down at the same time. But the tree's not going to go anywhere. It's a big established tree, but just watching it go up and down when the wind blew was just the coolest thing. And she remembered my mom putting a blanket over the window so the wind wouldn't come in. The wind was almost crosswise, so it was coming in even though the window was closed, the shutters were closed, everything was closed, and it was so much force that it was going through the framing of the window and coming in. It wasn't that the windows were broke or anything. They weren't broke. it was just that forceful that it would come in and it was soaking underneath, you know, and she's trying to keep the water from going into the bedrooms and wetting the beds and kind of localizing it where it would hit the blanket and run down, and us kids would go and try and sop it up as much as we could. But if it hadn't been for my dad that made us open windows, you know, when the wind was blowing the opposite direction to keep the house from building up pressure, I think it would have been worse for us, because he had the kids doing crossways, like the wind was blowing this one direction, so we would open windows the opposite direction, so it would kind of levelize the pressure in the house. And I think that's why our roof didn't blow up like the other ones did. And I know one family about 3 houses down, they had everything closed up and the roof was lifting, and as it lifted, it didn't lift off, but water was going underneath the roof into the attic. So their attic was getting wet because everything's closed up, the pressure was building, water's going underneath the eaves into the attic, and all of a sudden all of their ceilings fell in with the insulation, and all that stuff was in the house because there was so much water up in the attic, and it got soaked and it just fell down inside the house. So when it was all over, they're all outside of their homes because it was a mess in there, where our house wasn't like that. Yes, we had a lot of water damage, but I think it's because my dad had us equalize the pressure of the house, and the roof wasn't going up and down. We got water inside, but not as bad as some of the neighbors did.
Thank you. Okay, was there long lines for ice?
No,
No.
because nobody's paying. Nobody's
Okay.
paying. They're not charging you.
So they were just grab and go, grab and
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
Okay.
grab and go, pretty much.
Okay, because I remember another person saying how there was long lines, and then they got to the point where the ice was actually melted, and people would just still get it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I remember there being trucks, and they're just handing it out.
Did the Red Cross help you in any way, or did you see someone?
The Red Cross was the one that was giving the free
The free
food.
food.
And I remember it was cheese, peanut butter, like, what else? It was non-perishable things. And the label was really funny. I thought that was cute. It said, like, U.S. government something or other. And it was a black and white label. So it wasn't something that was sold at a store. It's actual food staples that the government had that they handed out to the people, which I thought was interesting. I didn't know that existed. And believe me, it was good stuff. That peanut butter was good. The cheese was good. And I'd never seen that before. But I guess they do that in places that are hurricane or flooding, and
Affected.
they're affected by storms and stuff like that, to try to help the people with staples, main things.
Thank you.
That's all.